So Tim Freak, I really like his ideas because he's basically saying, the universe is 15 billion years old and it is becoming ever more complex. It's evolving all the time, and it's taken 15 billion years um, to bring about this phenomenon of consciousness on this planet in this animal species that we are. It makes perfect sense. And especially if you look around and you see the low consciousness level of so many people still, that there's some sort of an evolving consciousness is evident. And also through this invention of this technology and through our connection, we are actually feeding all of what we individually learn back into this super consciousness of the human race. Because what many people now suspect, and I think they're absolutely correct, is that there are different sort of types of forms of consciousness for each species. So it's nature observing itself, right? Nature creating vehicles through which nature can experience itself. So when you have, for instance, the chicken, as James True showed us in his video, having a different resolution rate of experiencing nature around it, a higher frame rate, which enables it to catch the flies that nature also sort of, developed and created in this process of forever creating more interconnected, complex systems. So you start with the zygote with just the two cells, and then it starts to manifest and proliferate from there, and it's creating different organs. Some cells specialize, they go into this little group and they decide, oh hey, let's start sort of making this stuff for our community, right? And this is how ever more complex forms could develop over the fucking billions of years. Okay. And this gives you an explanation for why there's so many people who are just so completely stuck in all these in this ancient consciousness that has poisoned the human race, because it's taken us out of nature. It's placed us into this capacity of manipulating nature for our own benefit, which served our survival, yes, but it has also indoctrinated us with these religions into believing that we are not part of this whole thing, when there is no escaping. We are this thing, because this thing is just this one thing that is so interconnected that you cannot divide it. You can't. It's one thing. It's the same as your body, albeit made up out of trillions of different cells who each have their own little groups where they're doing their little thing. The liver is here doing its thing with all its liver cell bodies, and here's the bladder with all its bladder cell bodies, and they're all little communities, and we have all these bacteria living inside of us as well, and yeast and this and that digesting for us. This body that is made up of all these different cells and structures and foreign entities as well that we rely on for our life. And in the same way, we are part of the earth inextricably. There is no, we're all indigenous, right? And we belong here. And so this is another cult, Well, there's these indigenous people, and they have certain rights, and the other people aren't indigenous, when in reality we're all indigenous to Earth. We are the Earth. We are the Earth's consciousness, because the Earth, nature, whatever this thing is, has come up with these forms that gradually over the time developed a form of becoming conscious of themselves more and more and more in different species that it developed to look at itself. And so you are part of it. You are the earth. Everything you eat comes from the very earth. The air you breathe is the earth, and what you exhale feeds the tree. So you're connected to the tree. You are absolutely interwoven and interconnected with this tree. So what are you, the whole or part of the whole? A cell of it? Our genetics are mirrored in all the other species. We share, I don't know, 97% of our genes with a banana. Because we're all the earth. We're all this thing. We're the brain cells of this organism that is the earth, that consists out of trillions and trillions and trillions of organisms. Scale that down to your own body, where you have all these different cells that are all components of different organs. Here's your lions, and here's your cats, and down there is your hyenas. It's the same thing, only on a different scale. But you're it, you're all of it. And without you, it couldn't function. We all have our functions here. And we have been completely disconnected from that. And that's how you control a species, by disconnecting them from the very thing that feeds them, that is them, that is an upscaled version of themselves, and there's no escaping this. That we can't leave it either. This massive electromagnetic thing around the earth is just not to be penetrated. So yeah, I don't know. I've had a bad year last year, very bad year. I lost all my animals. I had no electricity for 13 days in the storm. Then all my chickens got killed in one fell swoop. A couple of weeks later, my geese got killed. The stables got destroyed with a pony in it. The pony didn't get damaged, luckily enough. I had to find homes for the horses because I just couldn't support them anymore. And I sat down, and every day I woke up, I just wanted to die. So I couldn't take any more trauma. I've been through so much trauma. Trauma finding out about this world and what it's like, how crazy all this is. Trauma in my personal life. And I come full circle. I come from hating life, rejecting it, to seeing what game is being played here, and never ceasing to look for more information and for different authors, and what do they say and what does he think. We're all of it. And it's seeking ever greater complexity, self-reflection. But I'm come round to his idea that we're only in the process of bringing this consciousness to life. which is completely the opposite of what the ancients thought. But they had a different way even of perceiving reality. Again, go over to James Truth. He's found brilliant research, showing that ancient humans didn't even see all the colors that we see today. All of that is a slow, gradual process of refinement. And then I come across Professor Nutt. The psychedelics helped shape our brains. This is what Terence McKenna said as well, and so many others. And then you see all these ancient depictions of the gods and goddesses with the little mushrooms and, giving each other the mushrooms and blah, blah, blah. And this consciousness that came online. So James had one episode where he was sort of explaining in his own inimitable way that I love so much, because he takes you on this journey. Some people can't get into him and they're missing out big time. It takes a bit of consistent watching him to understand what it is he's actually doing. And he's taking you into these journeys, and the way he has this way of explaining things that is like a good book, where when you sit and it all becomes alive in your head, if you know what I mean, and you can recreate his thought process. So he was talking about the ancient humans who would have looked at a scenery like the Nile and seen this big snake, this river, and the crocodile and the trees, and everything would have been one thing. They wouldn't even have this, our perception had to come online and had to learn so many things. Like I said, and he brings this out in his videos, that in the distant past humans couldn't see colors, but they may have perceived, the aura around people. Hence why you have a lot of, when they would have had a psychopath amongst their midst, they would have perhaps seen the aura of this psychopath and then seen something like the Medusa with the snakes coming out of the head, Just another explanation for all these funny stick men that you see, these depictions, right? Very interesting. He has really interesting thought processes. So it's another channel recommendation. All I can do here is throw out a few suggestions to people, because we're in such dire need of raising our awareness, raising our consciousness, learning as much as we can about how it is we came to the point we're at now. And the more of us that become aware of this, feed it into the subconsciousness of our species. And I believe this is how, we can push this thing over the edge, because it is happening. I think there's sort of, they're talking about the singularity with this AI thing, but I think what all this is actually doing is pushing us into a singularity. Because the more we're looping this through, the 2.1 thousand views are feeding into the subconsciousness of humanity. And all of this gets not just put out and watched on a cognitive level, but it's going deeper. And it's pushing and pushing and pushing. Anyway, I'm just blabbing now. I just had this immense desire to share, especially some of these channels that are out there.